Good afternoon. Myself is Amarnath Bose. I am the program head of Department of Electrical Power and Energy in University of Petroleum and Energy Studies. From our department, we offer a course in BTech in Power System Engineering, which is a 4-year program, and I am here today to explain you and to give you a brief idea about this course, what exactly we take up in this course, what are the things that are taught in this course, in this program of BTech in Power System Engineering, what are the avenues and scopes that a student after passing this course shall have in the future, what are the future goals that a student should have once he undergoes this course in BTech in Power System Engineering. To start with, I would like to first of all give a brief idea about what is the power scenario in our country, what exactly is this course. For that, if one would like to know about it, it is very important and vital for us to understand what exactly is power system engineering related to. Power system engineering is the BTech course which deals with the generation of electric power, which is the source of energy for running big installations, factories, industries. Everywhere one requires to run big machines for which electric power is required. Not only that, electric power is also required in our day-to-day life for the transportation industry and for our domestic needs, for running our domestic equipments like air conditioner, television, refrigerator, even cooking ranges. Name any equipment where we don't require power. In fact, it is the electric power that is the vital aspect which is required for running these machines and instruments. Before we go ahead with the detail of this power system engineering course, we need to understand where do we stand at this moment in our country with reference to the electric power. The total power that is generated at present, the most recent data as on 31st of March 2016, we have the total power generated in megawatt is 2,98,059.26 megawatt power that is being generated in our country. Out of that, coal-based thermal power plants, they comprise the major chunk which accounts for around 62% of the total power produced in our country. The next in the league is the gas-based thermal power stations. I'm sorry, not the gas-based. It is basically the hydropower plants, which accounts for around 15%. Next is gas-based combined cycle power plants, and we have other renewable energy sources for power plants which are generating power, which are used in our various industries, including agriculture, heavy machineries, and many other places. So as we can see, that coal-based thermal power plant, they account for the major chunk of the power generated in our country, around 62% of the total installed capacity. It is estimated that by the year 2021, the power potential, the Indian economy has a huge potential in this particular industry of power generation, and the requirement of power is going to definitely increase, as we can see over here in this graph, wherein again we find the thermal power plants, which mainly comprise of the coal-based thermal power stations and nuclear power station, which will have the major chunk in the total power generated even in the future. What are the areas where power system engineers who will undergo this course in power system engineering, PSC, BTech course, 4-year course, which all are those areas where they could be put or they have bright future. Some of the areas which we can understand where our power system engineers can have a bright future are basically in power generating units, which are power plants, wherein they can work as design engineers, construction engineers, power plant construction engineers, planning, power plant operation engineers, commissioning engineers, and also in the long run for the operation and maintenance of power plants, engineers of this kind have the brightest scope. Further ahead of power generating stations, it is in the transmission and distribution sectors where such engineers are essentially required. There are organizations like Power Grid Corporation of India Limited, and there are nowadays some private sectors are also coming up with the transmission and distribution in this particular sector, where such engineers are required. Apart from that, the power system engineers they play a vital role in the project management and consulting of power projects and their execution in the years coming. As you could see in the forecasted in the future years, by the year 2021, we are expecting there will be many more power plants that are going to be installed, and for that we the industry requires good power system engineers who should be able to execute such projects. Again, in that case, such engineers will be extensively required. There shall be great scope for such engineers in power system analysis and also in research and development as well. So in brief, what we can understand that power system engineers, they have good opportunities, or they are essentially rather required in four primary areas. One is the power generation systems like the power plants. Further ahead, the power transmission systems and the companies dealing with power transmission systems. And thirdly, it is the power distribution at the load center, wherein the factories, the industries, they require power. There, the power has to be delivered properly. For that, in that place also, power system engineers could be very important and vital. And finally, to run the electrical equipments, that is the utilization of electric power, again, one requires power system engineers for running large equipments. In our in our organization, I mean, in our BTech course, 4-year BTech course in power system engineering, apart from giving the theoretical and practical knowledge to our students in various practical laboratories that we have, we also help our students, they undergo internship and industrial exposure for their continuous development to understand what are the practical aspects at this present moment in the industry globally as well as in our country. We send our students to companies like Asia Brown Boveri, ABB, National Thermal Power Corporation, NTPC, Larsen & Toubro, Power Grid Corporation, Thermax, Tata Power, to name a few. There are many more such organizations where our students, they undergo practical training, internship, industrial exposure to understand these systems practically, to have a hands-on experience on the equipments and machineries and systems applicable for in such industries. Thereby, they get an exposure to such systems which are applicable in the power industry, and they hone their skills, and they have a brighter future to get employed in such organizations in the future. What are the nature of jobs where such engineers are put? First of all, power system engineers, They have a lot of scope in design and development of power plants, transmission and distribution lines, transmission towers. They are also into power system planning and forecasting, wherein they study the feasibility of putting up new power plants, take up new projects in those companies which are into the making of power plants or power transmission lines. Thereby, companies which are extensively involved in the development of the infrastructure, especially related to power sector, our students, power system engineering students, are they get lucrative offers in such kind of organizations. The power system engineers, they also have bright future or scope in the consultancy, design and engineering consultancy jobs. Organizations like DCPL, Tata Consulting Engineers, such organizations which are involved in the design and consultancy of power plants, execution of new projects, new power plants. Power system engineers are they play a vital role in such organizations. Also, power system engineers, they are also involved in instrumentation and control of power stations and power distribution systems. Apart from this, power plant power system engineers are also highly employable in the sectors like power plant performance monitoring or equipment monitoring, high energy consuming equipment monitoring jobs, especially in all those industries which consume huge amount of power. For them, they require auditors and basically such engineers, power system engineers, they are involved in such auditing jobs to give the consultancy and provide their expertise to optimize the existing system in such heavy power consuming industries. Power system engineers have their role to play in operation and maintenance of power systems, power plants. They are also extensively utilized in simulation of power systems which are involving large scale power generating power plants as well as equipments and transmission systems in power system simulation. What are the laboratory facilities that we have? We provide a lot of various different kinds of electrical laboratory and power system laboratory facilities to our students, wherein they get a hands-on experience to understand the equipments and systems involved in power system engineering. With the help of such exposure, they become more competing in the industry with other such engineers who are also competing in the industry in this particular line of power system engineering. The laboratory facilities we have, they include basic electrical laboratory, power system laboratory, electrical machine laboratory, power electronics laboratory, and power simulation laboratory. We also involve our students in various activities and students chapters like IEEE Students Chapter Society for honing their skills in technical writing, to do research work and present a paper in various conferences. We also take the initiative to involve our students in industrial tours. Generally, we conduct industrial tours in various power plants, wherein they undergo simulator training. That way, they get hands-on practical exposure to how to run a power plant. We have already conducted many such industrial tours in organizations like Adani Power, SR Power, and we do have from time to time tie-ups with various major power sector companies like Reliance Power, Adani Power, SR. such organizations wherein our students get a hands-on experience during such industrial tours to know about such systems. There are various projects in which also we involve our students which are related to energy or power generation systems. Both mainly our concentration is in thermal power plants, but also our students also get practical exposure in hydroelectric power plant and combined cycle gas-based power stations. Apart from these exposures like industrial tour, internship, and students chapters, technical writing, research work, in which our students are extensively involved, we also have various software facilities wherein the students they get an hands-on experience on the recent software tools that are used in the industry. That way their employability is maximized. We have various software tools and like ETAP, MATLAB, Skylab, EMTP-RV, and PVSYST and COMSOL. Such kind of software tools, which are basically simulator sort of software tools, are used in various sectors of power systems, and that way our students they get an hands-on experience exposure to such advanced software tools and techniques. The potential employment potential or wherein our students could be put in various sectors, I mean the power system engineering students, they include the R&D research and development units in public and private sector companies, oil and gas fields. As you can understand, the power system engineers, as a power system engineer, they have their employability not only in power sector but also in many other sectors or industrial sectors wherein power engineers are required. And as a matter of fact, as power is energy, electrical energy is one of the most important component to run a factory or industry. So the employability of such engineers, like the power system engineers, they have huge employability in not only the sectors which are related to power engineering, but also other fields like oil and gas, iron and steel plants, refineries, petroleum refineries, metal industries, heavy metals, precious metals, cement and fertilizer, chemical and agricultural industry, um, textiles, and many more. Even they have their employability in heavy engineering, like BHEL, like Thermax in the private sector. So they have huge employability or employable possibility in various sectors depending upon the need as well as their skills. We need to bring to your notice that what are the organizations that wherein we have already placed our students. Um, they include companies like Larsen Toubro, Luminous, Thermax, AMTL, Keppel Offshore, Eon Electric, CAC, NPCL, Emerson. These are only a few of the organizations where our students are already well placed, to name a few. Well, that is what I have here to offer you. In fact, power sector is a booming field in the coming days and in the future, as it is expected that this particular industry or this particular sector is going to flourish and boom up. The most important reason for the power sector to come up is it is life without power is almost impossible in the present scenario, because all of our industries, be it agriculture or heavy engineering or aerospace, railway and traction system, fertilizer, steel plants, anything you name, anything, or even in the domestic aspect, domestic end, everywhere we need power, and therefore the need and growth of power sector is inevitable. It will grow, and the demand for power system engineer will always be very high. We are expecting how best we can cater to the needs of our country, wherein Such huge amount of power system engineers are required in the very near future. Already in our country, there's a deficit of such engineers, which we are trying to cater with our best efforts. And in the coming years, we are sure that this demand is going to increase exponentially. So I firmly believe that people, the students like you, should be able to cater the nation in the most appropriate way. And for that, our institute, University of Petroleum, is there to equip you and make you the best power system engineer to cater the nation. Thank you very much, and I welcome you. If you have any kind of question, please feel free to ask me. ये कुछ देर है यूपीएससी यूनिवर्सिटी रिक्वेस्ट यू टू पोस्ट ईमेल आईडी What should we do? क्या बोले? दोबारा क्या बोले? क्यों? क्वेरी तो कुछ है नहीं। हाँ कुछ आ रहा है। थैंक यू फॉर ज्वाइनिंग। थैंक्स फॉर ज्वाइनिंग। किसको कह रहे हैं?